picked up two of the older siblings of the baby, everybody came home. From video, we're able to see the two parents, everybody get out of the car. The two parents then go into the house separately. Reportedly, the father of the baby, Aaron Michael Combs, went in to play video games, and Shavetta Leandra Combs, the baby's mother, went in to take a nap. The two parents, admittedly, were kind of in their own world and were preoccupied with making sure that the other children were fed and before going off to take a nap and play video games. And unbeknownst to either of them, neither of them had taken steps to take the baby out of the car. It wasn't until several hours later that one of the older siblings of the baby noticed that the baby was missing, asked them where the baby was, and that's when the search began. And unfortunately, they found that the baby had been left in the vehicle for over 2 hours. And at that point, they brought the baby in, called 911. Our dispatch attempted to talk the mother through administering first aid, but at that point, it was way too late, and the baby was pronounced deceased from her injuries there. Yesterday about that time, as you all know, we're going through a hot stretch. It's August in South Texas. The outside temperature at that time was about 100 degrees. So inside of a car, we're estimating that car was anywhere within about 10 minutes was at about 120 degrees. And then after several hours, it's 140, 150 degrees. Certainly difficult for anybody to sustain that sort of heat for any extended period of time, even more so for a child where their little bodies are not able to dissipate heat. So it's pretty easy to see how this little girl died a horrible death inside of that car. So last night, both parents were brought down here to CID where they were interviewed, and enough probable cause was established to indicate negligence on their part, which was the direct result being, of course, the death of this little girl. And both the parents were booked in on that charge. Esta tarde nosotros vamos a dar más información tocante un caso que pasó ayer. Aproximadamente despuesito de las 6 de la tarde, nosotros recibimos una llamada en el oeste del condado por un reporte de una niña que fue dejada dentro de un carro caliente. Se aparenta que los padres, los dos sospechosos, los padres biológicos de la niña, ellos toda la familia fue para levantar otros dos niños de la escuela. Ya cuando llegaron para atrás, para la casa, se nota en video que nosotros logramos agarrar que los dos adultos sacaron los otros dos niños del carro. Toda la familia entró a la casa. El padre de la niña, de la bebita, nos reportó que él entró a jugar juegos de video. La mamá entró a la casa y se durmió. Les habían dado de comer a los otros dos niños, pero ya después de unas cuantas horas, uno de los hermanos mayores de la bebita notó que la bebita no estaba dentro de la casa. Les comentó a los padres que dónde estaba la niña. Ellos ya cuando empezaron a buscar la niña, descubrieron que estaba en el carro, pero para ese tiempo ya tenía más que dos horas dentro del carro. Y ayer ya ven como hacía mucho calor ayer. A esa hora aproximadamente 100 grados de temperatura, pero ya dentro del carro nosotros podemos averiguar que aproximadamente 140, 150 grados dentro de ese carro. Entonces ya podemos ver que la niña falleció en condiciones horribles, desafortunadamente. Ya entrevistamos los dos padres aquí en nuestras oficinas y nosotros averiguamos que lo que deberíamos hacer es arrestar a los dos anoche. Ellos se enfrentaron con esos cargos. Ahorita no se sabe si ellos todavía siguen dentro de la cárcel o si ya han salido en libertad condicional, pero ahorita les podemos dar esa información. Any questions? And then I'll give you some. See.
Well, we've seen these things before. We have two in our area, not within your jurisdiction.
Right.
Those have not resulted in any criminal charges yet. Why was it that you were able to quickly assess that this was a criminal act?
Well, every case differs, and certainly I couldn't even begin to comment on anybody's case that's not ours. But in this instance, talking to these folks about some of the things that are going on in their lives, the introduction of, some family type situations that are occurring between the two as a married couple, and then the introduction of some substances to the situation as well that tended to aggravate the situation. Not necessarily illegal substances, but certainly substances that would impair judgment. We felt that after talking to the two of them last night, determining that there was certainly ample opportunity had they simply just looked in the back seat or done what they needed to do to get that child out of that situation. There was plenty of ample opportunity to do so. But because they were each, by their own admission, seemed to be in their own little world and more concerned with going to play video games or more concerned with going to take a nap, unfortunately, this baby died a horrible death. And so for us, we felt the most appropriate course of action last night was to go ahead and make those arrests.
Are you saying they were under some kind of influence? Because you said substances.
Yeah, the mother admitted to us having taken some CBD in the days prior, dealing with some issues. And while CBD isn't necessarily illegal, it may tend to inhibit judgment, coupled with the fact that she had admitted to having been drinking the night prior to, and was probably most likely suffering from some after effects of that, not to mention lack of sleep. I could certainly understand somebody being so tired going in and taking a nap, but leaving your child unattended in a car for several hours on a day like that, that's certainly negligence to the point that undoubtedly caused this baby to die a horrible death. And so again, we felt the appropriate course of action for us was to go ahead and make that arrest at that time.
Chely, estamos en vivo por Univisión. ¿Puede decir en español cómo encontraron a la niña y la diferencia en cuanto a lo que fue los grados que estaba y lo que estaba caliente
Sí,
dentro del carro?
pues nosotros ya cuando nosotros encontramos a la niña ya estaba dentro de la casa. Ya para ese tiempo ellos habían averiguado que la niña estaba dentro del carro. Uno de los padres sacó la niña del carro, la llevó dentro de la casa y ya de allí una de nuestras empleadas por teléfono estaba dándoles direcciones cómo administrar primeros auxilios a la niña. Entonces ya cuando nosotros llegamos ya la niña estaba dentro de la casa, pero notamos que tenía una herida en su carita, donde ya la piel se estaba dañando a causa del calor dentro del carro. Nosotros ya sabemos que ayer a esas horas la temperatura de afuera era aproximadamente 100 grados, pero ya dentro de un carro, por más de 2 horas, la temperatura va subiendo, incrementando dramáticamente. Entonces ya dentro de ese carro nosotros podemos averiguar que estaba casi 140, 150 grados en ese tiempo.
Entendemos que está bajo investigación, pero ¿qué tipo de cargos podrían enfrentar los padres de la niña?
Bueno, ya se están enfrentando con causar la muerte de una niña, de su niña. Injury to a child es el cargo. O sea, causando una herida a un niño o niña que causa la muerte. Entonces, esa es una felonía seria.
¿Ambos enfrentarían los mismos cargos?
Ambos se enfrentaron con los cargos. Ahorita ya los arrestamos, pero ahorita no sé yo si todavía están en la cárcel o si ya han salido en libertad condicional. Nosotros les podemos dar esa información.
¿Sabes si los niños que estaban en la casa con
los niños se van a quedar con otro pariente, me parece que con uno de los abuelos biológicos. Ya nosotros nos pusimos, anoche nos pusimos en contacto con las autoridades estatales y ellos ya hicieron arreglaron que los niños se van a quedar con un abuelo, me parece. So what I didn't tell you earlier, Katrina, I'm sorry, was that in the aftermath of this, we spoke to Child Protective Services and arrangements were made for the other 2 siblings to stay with a grandparent, a biological grandparent during the time of their custody.
And then I would imagine, most cases where kids are left in the car, parents accidentally do it. I know you're not a lawyer,
Sure.
But when something like this happens, you said they admitted to leaving this child in the car plus the substances. Are there any cases where people just don't face any charges at all.
Well,
that's what's kind of.
We see so many of these cases, especially this, starting in the spring here in South Texas, we start seeing these cases, and certainly at this time of the year with more frequency. And there's any number of theories that people say if your schedule changes abruptly and your routine changes, that can be a contributing factor. Well, with the start of the school year, I could see where somebody may get distracted momentarily and then, for a shorter period of time. But being that we were able to reconstruct the day's events from talking to the parents, but additionally the video that we were actually able to see from a neighborhood camera, that this far exceeded just being absent-minded and for a few seconds. This was a 2-hour time frame that there was ample opportunity to stop playing a video game or wake up from a nap and think about where your baby might be. So there's any number of factors that could have come into play.
And then how many cases like this actually end in a charge?
I would be hard-pressed to give you that kind of data, for us. But I can tell you in this instance, and every case differs from case to case, but in this instance, we felt the most appropriate thing to do was go ahead and make that arrest. Those arrests, I should say.
How old were the siblings?
The siblings are... Yeah, we'll get that to you. They're older elementary school age
Sheriff,
children.
¿algún mensaje para la comunidad de cómo evitar este tipo de accidentes?
Bueno, mira, hay muchas personas que dicen tienes que dejar algo de valor atrás, la bolsa o el teléfono celular. Pero para mí, en mi opinión, ser padre, en mi opinión, no hay algo más importante que su bebé que puede dejar en el asiento de atrás. Entonces, para mí hay solamente, y los carros nuevos tienen alarmas que les puede decir hay algo atrás o checa el asiento de atrás para asegurar que no haya nadie allá. Pero como padre es su responsabilidad fijarse en eso sin dejar el teléfono celular, sin tener alarmas en los carros. Uno como padre es su responsabilidad cuidar a sus niños.
I kind of want to dig in a little bit more on that. If a parent sees a schedule change or something like that, is it possible to charge them, or are they able to say, hey, there was this change in schedule?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
You mentioned sometimes people are absent-minded because there's a schedule change.
Well, so I've attended events in years prior, right, where there's organizations devoted to this, to preventing these sorts of hot car deaths. And one of the prevailing theories that I always hear at those events from those organizations is that that's a contributing factor. If, for example, one day usually the wife takes the baby to daycare, but on this day she had a doctor's appointment, the husband had to take the baby to daycare, and instead of going to the daycare, he was caught up in his own schedule and went to work and left the baby in the car. We've seen situations like that. That was obviously a change in the routine schedule could have contributed to something like that. In this instance, I don't know. That's going to be up to them and their attorneys to introduce that sort of defense to this. But what I can tell you is having spoken to experts in this field, that's usually one of the contributing factors that they talk about is the fact that a change in schedule could possibly lead to something like this.
And when there's that change in schedule, can parents still face charges?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's not a defense to prosecution. They're just saying that when you have a situation like that where there's a new routine, you've moved into a new home, your kids are starting school, a break from the normal daily routine, be mindful of that, hey, things are changing. We need to pay extra care that there may be a baby in the back seat.
But this wasn't that.
I don't believe that was the case here.
Sheriff, entiendo que está bajo investigación de nuevo. Una última pregunta para mí.
Sí.
¿Sabe usted si los padres estaban bajo influencia de alcohol o drogas en el momento que llegaron?
Pues no sé, si la mamá dijo que ella había tomado la noche anterior. No sé ahorita si ella estaba ebria o solamente estaba cansada y si se durmió sin saber dónde estaba la niña. Ahorita nosotros hay evidencia que nosotros nos tenemos que fijar antes de poder averiguar eso. Okay?
Are they, do you know what their bond is? Do they have bond?
I don't. We'd have to get you that information. 60,000 each? Thank you, Sue.
And they're still in custody, though they didn't make that.
I believe they're still in custody.
Oh,
Okay. This. Go, absolutely.
I think I've covered that enough.
Okay.
I did have one additional question. I went back and listened to the actual call taker
Sure.
dispatch, and they said that the woman was screaming and hysterical
Mhm.
and obviously full of regret
Sure,
from the get-go.
sure.
So I guess she realized right away. that
Oh,
she made a
no,
terrible mistake.
it's a heartbreaking scenario. I mean, I certainly can't imagine, what these folks may have been going through as parents, but still, the fact that you're remorseful in the aftermath of it still doesn't absolve you of the fact that you left your baby in an unattended hot car for 2 hours when there was ample opportunity for somebody to notice. I mean, the first person to notice this was an elementary age child in the house. That child noticed the absence of the baby before the parents ever did. And so I get caught up in your own issues. I get tired of being a tired parent of multiple children. I get all that. But in this instance, I don't think anything that occurred here absolves them of that responsibility of being parents of a baby.
And you have video to prove the contract.
Absolutely. We were able to establish all of this by a video that was made available to us.
And are you guys able to share that video? Or is that?
If we're able to, we certainly will. But at this point, I don't know. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Es una pregunta que es difícil para ustedes cuando consiguen un niño en esas condiciones, hablar de la parte humana, ¿no? No solamente de como oficial.
Sí, no, pues nosotros cada vez que nos encontramos a alguien herido gravemente o muerto, como se dice, especialmente cuando